When iPS cells were first discovered, only a few hundred people had even heard of them. But seeing companies like Apple and Hewlett-Packard out there changing the world with bold new ideas, that really inspired me. Our mission is to make it so that having your own iPS cells is just part of everyday life. That's why we've already started mass-producing iPS cells for personal medical use.
So you're always going back and forth between Kyoto and the US, right?
I basically live in the United States. But for the past 10 years or so, I've been coming to Japan at least once a month, sometimes as many as 4 times a month. At that point, it almost feels like I live there.
So, is it still the same?
Nothing has changed.
That's a lot of time spent just traveling, isn't it?
Honestly, I've gotten so used to it. And it's actually great. On a plane, you can really focus. At the office, people are always pulling you into conversations. But on a plane, nobody interrupts, so I just work the whole flight. Before I know it, 9 or 11 hours have gone by and we've landed.
So you're working that entire 9 or 11 hours? Ever since I got to know you, I've seen how you operate. You're always in some meeting or going back and forth with someone. You're literally always on the go. Do you ever actually take a break?
Personally, I don't feel like I need it that much. This iPS cell vision is kind of like a hobby for me. It's just the thing I most want to do. So taking a break never really crosses my mind.
So this really is your life's work. It truly is. Now, most people have heard of iPS cells, but not many actually understand how they're being used or where things really stand. And even fewer understand the real benefits they could bring. Most people just don't know. And that's exactly what we want to get across. So Koji, you mentioned something about producing iPS cells for individuals. Can you walk us through what that actually involves?
One of our biggest early challenges was that producing iPS cells for a single person took an incredibly long time. If it takes a full year per person, you can only produce cells for one person a year.
That's definitely the biggest hurdle, isn't it?
No matter what it costs, if you can only produce cells for one person a year, that's a serious problem. Say I've got 80 years to live and I'm already 40. That means I can only produce cells for 40 people in my lifetime. That's the core issue. So what we're focused on now is scaling up production massively. And this isn't just about iPS cells. It applies to medical cells in general. The thing is, we've always thought of medicine as something you take, a drug. Historically, that started with herbal medicine, then small molecule compounds, the pills everyone takes today. Then came RNA therapies and vaccines. And now, the next frontier is turning cells themselves into medicine. So the big question is, who's going to mass produce those cells? We focus on iPS cells, which are just one type of medical cell. But the real innovation isn't iPS cells specifically. It's building the infrastructure to produce large quantities of cells and get them into the human body. In that sense, we're kind of like a semiconductor factory, mass-producing the raw materials that future medicine will run on. Think Intel inside, except these days, what's inside computers is NVIDIA. We're building toward an era of iPS inside. In practice, that means scaling up production, advancing our research, things like cell culture, and making those processes faster. Right now at iPS, we're developing technology to produce iPS cells faster and for more people. We're also expanding what those cells can actually be used for, using them to grow cancer-fighting cells for treatment, and growing nerve cells to address neurological diseases. And then there's rejuvenation and longevity, something that's been getting a lot of global attention lately. That's also an area where we're actively developing products at iPS.
So that's what you're working on. For everyone watching, iPS cells are a bit like semiconductors, and their applications are only going to keep growing. But you might be wondering how this actually applies to you personally. Sure, there's the scenario where you get sick, but beyond that, realistically, when would an ordinary person actually get to use iPS cells?
There are really 2 ways to use iPS cells. The first, and this is what people in Japan often talk about, is using cells grown from iPS cells to replenish the parts of your body that have weakened. For example, if your nerves deteriorate, you can grow nerve cells from your own iPS cells to compensate. If your heart weakens, you can supplement it with heart cells grown from your iPS cells. It's almost like being a salamander, regrowing your own limbs. That's one way they can be used.
That's come quite a long way, hasn't it?
iPS cells might sound cutting edge, but they've actually been around for about 20 years. Over those 20 years, all kinds of cells grown from iPS cells have been developed, transplanted into patients, and real results are starting to come out. For example, as many of you may know, heart cells grown from iPS cells have been transplanted into heart disease patients, allowing them to recover and get back to their lives. There's also the case of corneal cells, the transparent cells at the front of the eye, grown from iPS cells and transplanted to restore vision. This was even covered on NHK, and they've genuinely succeeded in restoring people's sight. Then there's Parkinson's disease, a brain condition where certain nerve cells gradually break down. By using iPS cells to replace those cells, they've seen real improvement, and it's been proven safe. They might seem futuristic, but for the patients who've already been treated, safety has been established and the results are already clear. So the effectiveness results came out this year or last year, right? One of the big announcements was about spinal cord injuries. If you break your spine in a car accident or a sports accident, the nerves inside the spine can get severed, causing lower body paralysis, and no amount of rehabilitation can fix that. But it's now clear that neural stem cells grown from iPS cells are improving motor function in these patients. We can now do things medicine simply couldn't do before. 5 or 10 years ago, people were still asking whether iPS cells could actually work. Now we have proof. The clinical trials are done, and we've hit that first milestone. The next big question is what else they can do. What makes iPS cells special is that they give you access to your own younger cells, right? Researchers believe that if you have those younger cells, they could potentially be used for longevity and anti-aging. There are a lot of approaches being explored in the US. One is extracting components from iPS cells, like exosomes, and developing them into drugs. There's also work being done with liver cells. And honestly, America is incredible, though it can get a bit wild. When you create iPS cells, you insert 4 genes to rejuvenate them. And there's research showing that introducing just a tiny bit of those 4 genes directly into the body can rejuvenate cells on its own, what's called partial reprogramming. A well-known American tech entrepreneur has invested heavily in this, and things are moving fast. Rejuvenation and longevity. These are things American business leaders are genuinely passionate about. It's what drives them. Now, this kind of iPS cell transplant therapy will probably still take a bit more time, but it's essentially medicine that repairs what's broken and brings you back from negative to zero. And if you take it one step further, since iPS cells give you access to younger cells, transplanting them into healthy people might actually make rejuvenation and longevity possible. I think this area needs a careful balance between scientific progress and making sure those cells are truly safe. As you all know, this research is advancing every day around the world. And as I've shared today, iPS cells are a technology that will define the future of medicine, a platform for the healthcare of tomorrow. I hope this gave you a clearer picture of what iPS cells are really all about. If you found it helpful, please give it a like, subscribe, and share it with others. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.